Hey there YouTube, I'm back and this is the first episode on how to survive the zombie apocalypse. In this scenario we're going to use the Left 4 Dead game as a sort of reference for the type of zombies we're going to deal with. So basically we're going to, for this first episode I thought we'd cover locations, you know, for like tips, where to go, what to do, what is essential, what necessarily isn't essential, and as well as the factoring in, should you even leave? Now, this is considering that the fact that when the zombie outbreak has hit, you know, maximum levels in your area, and then you go inside your house, or maybe a friend's house or something like that, and you lock yourself up for 2 to 3 days. That means that after the 2 to 3 days, you come out, the main chaos part of it has moved on. And basically, you walk outside and you hear like gunshots in the background, and you know, you'd see fires would be burning. What else? Maybe the occasional scream, car accident. So that's basically the scenario. You can't see anything, but you can hear them in the background. Now, the first thing you need to factor in is, should you even leave at all? That is a difficult decision, believe it or not, but if you have means to be able to grow vegetation without being too exposed, maybe other people to join you, do you have enough water, access to water, i.e. usually a water tank is a good option.
What are those guys doing in those suits?
Or at least have enough stored away. Chances are you won't have enough stored, you probably have a water tank, if so you're pretty much set. Essentially, if you're factoring, if you've got tall fences so no one can actually see you, and a water tank, then there's probably not a good reason why you should leave in the first place. And of course, factor in the fact that you can actually barricade yourself pretty well against the zombies or the infected individuals.
Glider man.
What we're going to do is we're going to move on to other factors. Let's say that one of those factors isn't right and you basically have to leave. You need to think about your area and where you're going to go. Of course, you have to factor in what I just said: food, water, and basic supplies. And of course, protection. Chances are you won't be alone. Most people will try to go over to a family or friend's house, and you know, if they survive, chances are the people you're with has survived as well. So you've got a few people with you, and you've got to factor in for them. So you may think of going to some places, and it may seem like a good idea at the time, but I can assure you in many cases that's incorrect. Going to places like hospitals are clearly a bad idea. Well, they're not clearly a bad idea, but they are. That's because that's probably where the zombie apocalypse really started to accelerate, and because simply the patients can't really move that fast, and zombies can. And once they turn into zombies, they can move fast again. So you've got to factor all that in.
Reloading.
So go into places like hospitals. I'm not saying that you shouldn't at least perhaps loot at some point in the near future, but most likely they're going to be overrun with infected individuals. Then moving on to like grocery stores. Many people think, you know, might as well barricade yourself in a grocery store, assuming it hasn't been looted to hell. In many ways that is also another bad idea, simply because nearly everybody else has thought of that idea. It'd probably be overrun with zombies, or just even corpses, which you don't want to deal with. And factor in the fact that there might be other people already in there who've had the same idea and might not be willing to share. In fact, could become quite violent if you try. Zombies don't attack under zombies, humans do.
Reloading.
So another location you may think of would be a good place to hide. Let's see, I've covered grocery stores, I've covered hospitals. Oh yeah, gun stores, of course. What am I thinking? Chances are they won't be overrun with zombies, assuming that there are any gun stores in your area. I know that in Australia that you don't really come across gun stores, simply because of the high restrictions they have on them. You come across camping stores that happen to sell guns. Well, first off, looting these places is a good idea. As means for establishing a colony or something like that, not a good idea. There's next to no food, and chances are someone else has already got the same idea you have and have locked themselves in with a shitload of weapons and guns, so it probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Here you go. Had no use for this anyhow. I ain't gonna get
Moving
shot.
on to some good ideas that you wouldn't really think of. Like, I think the best place to go is to a close-to-shore cargo ship. They're designed to hold a minimum of 20 people for 6 months. That's full refrigeration, full food storage, supplies. The zombies can't swim, they can't get up onto the boat even if they could swim. Basically, you'd be full and warm. Of course, you've got plenty of access to water, and even fishing to help keep those food supplies up. The only drawback is that some people may have also thought this is a good idea to hide, and thus may try to take it before you do. They could be infected already. If that's the case, if the places are infected, you're probably best to move on, because finding every nook and cranny in that place is going to be a living nightmare, literally. But anyway, I'd say that is the best place for permanent residency. But here's another place you may want to consider looting: veterinarians and pet stores, because a lot of the medications for pets are transferable to humans, especially fish antibiotics. They're actually human-based antibiotics. Please don't, quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case. I've only heard it through other lists of what to do. But essentially, fish antibiotics and human antibiotics are the same. So stashing up a few of them, you can even just go purchase them now even and have them in your bug out bag, is a good idea.
Reloading.
And of course, a veterinarian. Most people won't think to go to the vets to pick up medical supplies, but yeah, there would be plenty of necessary supplies. As I mentioned, antibiotics that are somewhat transferable to humans. Basic painkillers, sterile medical equipment, antibacterial supplies. Just a whole plethora of stuff that you would mostly find in a hospital setting, but just slightly different for animals. So that's just a good thought. You want to keep an open mind with the sort of things that... And just going a little off topic, dog food might not seem like a good meal, but and most people would skip it. Let's say if you were looting a grocery store that contains clean. Most people would forget the dog food, but dog food is actually quite edible. At least the main brands are. They have to keep it over a certain quality for standards, so chances are it's a lot of decent meat, probably like B grade meat, but yeah, it's still quite edible and does have the necessary vitamins and minerals that humans need.
I'll hold on to these pills.
Just gonna continue playing.
Jump onto the truck.
Of course, moving on to other places to raid. Of course, hardware stores for the obvious supplies, building materials, weapons. I'll say this many times, I believe that the best melee weapon is in fact a crowbar. That is because it's a tool and that can double as a weapon. It's lightweight enough for you to carry around pretty easy. It can cave in a skull, it can help you pry open doors to houses and buildings that you would actually need to do, because the simple fact is a lot of the supplies that you need, preferably if it's just the beginning of the zombie apocalypse and you have to leave and you're not too sure as to where to go, basically going to your neighbour's house is a good start, and that's where a crowbar comes in. They don't make much noise, except for maybe prying open the door. But they're still quite efficient to get in. So I'd recommend a crowbar and basically checking out your neighbour's house, assuming that they actually if they didn't have much warning and just have the doors left open, they're probably going to be full of zombies. As long as you be careful, you should be fine. But yeah, if you can think of other buildings, maybe town halls, even churches, I've heard are really good. Of course, the religious factor won't take into any play because it's a virus, but most of them are built quite high, with high windows and dirty walls, same as a mall basically, or even a downtown shopping complex, although this is considered to be unwise to actually go into a shopping complex.
Candy store for adults. First aid kit here.
You see, all these guns probably wouldn't be here, and if all these guns are here, there's probably some people waiting inside. The only reason why there wouldn't be anyone inside is because
Laser sights here.
everyone got evacuated. So the idea of checking out places that were evacuated is a good idea. You need to think ahead and try to think of what actually happened. Break down the scenario. There are algorithms you can do to factor in your chances of success in regards to finding supplies. But general rule of thumb is less popular, better chance of supplies. More popular, bad. See, these are boarded up, so the concept that people are still inside of here is very strong. So you've got to factor things like that. You've got to take a look around and notice the environment around you. You know, is there a car? Is it still running? How was it used? If you see a zombie eating another zombie, that means that zombie is person that is eating is indeed fresh. That actually happened in the movie. What's it called? Zombieland. The two guys, they came across a car that had crashed, and the woman had turned into a zombie while eating her husband. And it's like, well, if you think about it, that would have just happened within hours. You know, where did they come from? Where were they going? What were they doing? Was there someone else with them? There's a good chance there was. They should keep an eye out. And that's the sort of idea that you need to have when you factor in what you need to go.
God damn it, it's
There's
getting
probably
good.
not going to be power after a couple days. A tip for home is to fill up your bathtub full of water. Put the plug in.
We got it, let's go.
Yeah, put the plug in and fill it full of water. Get any kind of bowl or container and start filling that up full of water. As long as the water keeps coming, just keep pouring it out. Leave the tap on and leave it running. So let's say that, for instance, you have found a place to stay. You're going to need food, and not just your supplies. You're going to need to start to grow food. You know, the quickest one to grow, I believe, feel free to write in the comments if you think of any other, but I believe that is lettuce. I looked it up. It's about 3 to 4 weeks before you can get from the seeds until you can get an edible product.
Got his cola. Let's go. Reloading.
So you've got to factor in security over agriculture, expansion, of course, food, water. Assuming you have seeds, so if you don't have seeds, you're going to have to go out and find them. I recommend that you even try like a healthy bar, like a healthy snack bar. They actually contain a lot of seeds, and good chance that some of them are even still valuable, still good to cook. So if you're willing to sacrifice a energy bar, a natural energy bar here and there,
Watch out!
there's a good chance that you can get some seeds.
We got it. Let's go.
But of course, even going to Kmart has a huge value of supplies for what you need. Yeah, it's quite simple. Just basically use logic. Remember the rule of thumb, the more popular it is, the more likely it is it's going to be overrun or either over capacity with other survivors. But ultimately, the idea is to maybe find a house, barricade that up with as much stuff as you can. Find a house, either stay in your house or find a house that has high fences, a backyard for growing food and supplies, and a water tank. I know that in Australia that's the case in many backyards. So water tank in order to save.
Got the cola.